The night sky above the mining colony of Varan 4 shimmered with 2 moons and the faint glow of distant ships crossing the trade lanes. Commander Ethan Hale stood outside the outpost, staring at the stars. He had been stationed on this forgotten planet for 7 months, a place filled with rocks, storms, and silence. Yet tonight something felt different. The air was colder, sharper, and carried a strange echo from the canyon beyond the fences. He tightened his gloves and checked his wrist scanner. The reading blinked faintly, showing a heat signature moving in the restricted zone. It was impossible. That region was considered lifeless. Nothing could survive there after the radiation storms decades ago. Ethan frowned and started walking toward the signal. The wind howled through the narrow paths, dust lifting around his boots. His helmet light cut through the darkness, revealing pieces of old wreckage half buried in sand. Suddenly he saw movement, a figure crouched behind a broken transport shell. "Identify yourself," Ethan said firmly. His voice carried authority, but beneath it was curiosity. The figure turned slowly. It was a woman, or at least something close to it. Her skin shimmered faint blue under his light, smooth like polished stone, and her eyes glowed faint silver. She raised her hand slightly, not in fear, but with calm control. "You are human," she said softly. Her voice was melodic yet distant, almost echoing inside his helmet. Ethan froze. No known species on Varan 4 matched her description. "You speak Terran Standard?" he asked carefully. "I have learned." "Long ago," she replied. Then her eyes lowered. "You should not be here. This place is dead." Ethan stepped closer, his heart beating faster. "Then what are you doing here?" Her gaze shifted toward the horizon. "Waiting." The way she said that word sent a chill down his spine. There was a weight to it, centuries of waiting, maybe. Ethan slowly removed his helmet, breaking every regulation in the book. But he wanted her to see his face. He wanted to show her he meant no harm. "My name's Ethan Hale," he said. "Commander of Outpost 9, who are you?" For a long moment she said nothing. The wind brushed between them, carrying fine grains of sand. Then finally she whispered, "They called me Eris. Once." Her tone trembled slightly, as if the name carried pain. Ethan studied her. She looked fragile but unafraid. "Eris, you're not part of any known colony, are you?" She shook her head slowly. "I am not part of anything anymore." Her eyes drifted toward the sky again, watching the twin moons. Ethan followed her gaze. The silence between them wasn't empty. It felt full of questions neither knew how to ask. Finally, Ethan spoke. "Come back with me to the base. It's not safe out here," but Eris didn't move. "Humans always reaching out," she murmured quietly. Then her silver eyes met his. "No one has ever reached out to me." The words struck him harder than he expected. He saw the loneliness in her expression, a loneliness that felt ancient. Before he could reply, a sudden tremor shook the ground. His wrist scanner beeped wildly, energy surge detected. A bright flash of light burst from beneath the sand a few meters away. Ethan instinctively grabbed Eris and pulled her to cover. The explosion threw dust into the air, but when it cleared, a glowing sphere hovered in the crater. Eris stared at it, her face pale. "It woke," she whispered. "What is that?" Ethan asked, scanning it. The readings made no sense. Unknown energy pattern, massive output. She looked at him, fear creeping into her calm voice. "A weapon. From before your kind arrived." Ethan tightened his grip on his scanner. "Then we need to shut it down." "You cannot," she said. "It listens only to the ones who made it." "And who made it?" Eris turned away. "My people." Ethan's mind raced. Her people had left this world centuries ago after the Great Collapse. It was believed they were extinct. Yet one stood before him. He looked at her again. "If that thing goes off, the colony is gone." "I can't let that happen." Eris stepped closer, her hand brushing his arm slightly. "You will not survive if you stay." He met her eyes. "I faced worse odds." For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. "Humans always think that." They both turned as the sphere pulsed brighter. The ground cracked, energy lines spreading outward like roots of light. Eris lifted her hands, trying to form symbols in the air. Her voice changed tone, speaking words Ethan couldn't understand. Ancient and powerful. The light dimmed slightly, but not enough. Ethan could feel the heat pressing against his skin. He reached out and grabbed her hand. "Let me help." She looked at him sharply. You cannot. It will destroy you. He didn't let go. Then it destroys us both. Something in his voice made her stop arguing. Together they pressed their hands toward the sphere. Eris's energy met his presence, forming a strange balance. The light flickered violently, then stabilized for a few seconds before fading into silence. When it was over, the air was thick with dust and heat. Ethan fell to his knees, breathing heavily. Eris knelt beside him, her hand still trembling. "You're insane," she said softly. "No human should have survived that." Ethan gave a weak laugh. "Good thing I'm not most humans." She looked at him differently now, less as a stranger, more as something else. "Why did you help me?" she asked quietly. "Because you looked like you needed someone to reach out," he replied. Her eyes softened. She blinked, and for a moment the glow faded from her skin, revealing a more human-like warmth beneath. Ethan stood up slowly, offering his hand to her again. "Come with me. We'll figure this out together." Eris hesitated. "If I go with you, your people will fear me." "They fear what they don't understand," Ethan said. "But maybe you can show them something different." The wind carried silence again between them. Finally, she placed her hand in his. It felt cool, almost weightless, but real. As they walked back toward the colony lights, she glanced at him. "Ethan," she said quietly. "Yeah? If I told you the truth about what I am, would you still reach out?" He smiled slightly. "I already did." She looked away quickly, hiding a faint shimmer of emotion. The moons reflected off her eyes, and for the first time in centuries, she didn't feel alone. Behind them, the crater where the weapon had been now lay silent, but deep underground. Faint symbols began to glow again, unnoticed. The world of Veron 4 was waking, and neither of them knew what ancient secret they had just disturbed. Eris walked beside the human who had dared to touch her hand, and though she didn't say it, she felt something unfamiliar, hope. And Ethan, as he led her back through the dusty paths, realized that for the first time in his long service, he wasn't just protecting humanity, he was protecting a soul who had been waiting far longer than any of them could imagine. The night wind whispered softly, carrying her earlier words through the air again. "No one has ever reached out to me, but now someone finally had." The next morning came softly over the red horizon of Veron 4. Thin sunlight broke through the dust clouds, painting the outpost in shades of copper. Commander Ethan Hale had not slept all night. He sat in the control room, staring at the energy readings from the crater. The weapon's core was dormant now, but the scanner kept showing faint pulses like a heartbeat under the ground. He looked across the room where Eris sat quietly, her silver eyes tracing the shifting lights on the display screens. She hadn't spoken much since they returned. The technicians had been terrified at first, whispering that she was an alien ghost. But when she healed an injured worker with a touch of her hand, fear turned to silent awe. Ethan finally broke the silence. "You said that weapon was built by your people. Then why is it here buried on a dead planet?" Eris's gaze lingered on the monitor before she answered. "Because this was once our world. Before the storms, before we destroyed ourselves." Her voice carried no pride, only sorrow. "That device was meant to guard our capital, not erase it. But something went wrong. It learned to destroy instead of protect." Ethan frowned. "You mean it's alive?" "In a way," she said softly. "It listens, it remembers. And now that you touched it, it listens to you too." Ethan froze. "What?" She turned toward him, her expression calm but serious. "Your human energy, your presence, stopped it last night. It recognized your will. You may have awakened something older than either of us." The idea made Ethan uneasy. "Then we need to contain it before it decides to wake fully." Eris nodded slowly. "There is one way, but it requires a place that no human should enter." "The Heart Vault," he leaned back. "Where is that?" Her lips curved faintly. "Beneath this very planet. My ancestors sealed it there long ago. It holds the memory of everything my kind built, and everything they destroyed." Ethan looked at the screen again. "You think it's still intact?" She closed her eyes for a moment. "I think it is waiting for me to return." Later that day, they prepared a transport crawler and set off toward the canyon's edge. The crew wanted to come, but Ethan ordered them to stay behind. "If we don't come back, destroy the outpost and leave orbit," he told them. Then he climbed aboard beside Eris. The journey was long and silent. The crawler's metal treads rumbled over broken stone while the wind carved thin lines of dust in the air. Eris watched the landscape with quiet sadness. "When I was a child, this was all green. Rivers ran through here. The sky was blue. Ethan tried to imagine it, but it was impossible. What happened? Pride, she said. We thought we were gods. We made machines that felt, weapons that dreamed. We forgot that creation has a cost. Ethan looked at her. That's not so different from humans. Eris gave a faint smile. That is why your kind fascinates me. You make the same mistakes, but you still hope. After several hours, they reached a vast canyon split open like a scar across the planet. In the center, half buried under dust, stood an enormous gate of silver and stone. Symbols shimmered faintly across its surface, pulsing with the same rhythm as the energy reading from the weapon. This is it, Eris whispered. The entrance to the heart vault. Ethan approached it carefully, scanning for traps or power fields. It's still active. She stepped forward, placing her hand on the symbols. The gate responded instantly, glowing brighter. It knows me, she said quietly. Then she turned to him. Once we go inside, there is no turning back. The vault may not like a human presence, Ethan nodded. Then it better get used to me. The gate opened with a low hum. Warm light spilled out, revealing a corridor lined with crystal panels and moving patterns like flowing water. As they entered, the door sealed behind them with a whisper. The inside was breathtaking. Walls filled with faint images that moved like memories, showing cities floating above oceans, beings of light walking under starry skies. Ethan stopped for a moment, stunned. This was your world? He asked. Yes, she said softly. Before we forgot how to listen. They reached a chamber filled with a glowing pool of blue energy. In the center stood a large pedestal shaped like a flower in bloom. On it rested a sphere identical to the one they had found in the crater. Only this one pulsed gently, like it was breathing. Ethan approached, but Eris held him back. Wait, the air shimmered. A figure appeared above the pool made of light and memory. It looked like Eris, but older, regal and calm. Child of my line, the projection spoke. Why do you return with one of the destroyers? Ethan stiffened, but Eris bowed her head. He is not one of them. He saved me. He stopped the core. The figure's glowing eyes turned toward Ethan. Human. Your kind brought fire to this world once before. Why should I let you live? Ethan met its gaze without fear. Because I don't want to destroy. I came to stop whatever's still buried here. There was a long silence. The vault lights dimmed, then brightened again. Your words are strange for a warrior. Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe I'm just tired of fighting. The projection's light flickered. Very well. The heart vault accepts your presence for now. Eris looked relieved, but the figure's tone grew darker. However, the weapon you touched has awakened the old network. If it completes the connection, every dormant core will rise again. You have little time. Ethan clenched his fists. Then tell us how to stop it. There is only one way, said the figure. You must bind it. One of my blood and one of your will. Together. Only that can close the network. Ethan looked at Eris. Bind it how? Eris's voice trembled slightly. Through a joining of life force. A link that cannot be undone, he frowned. Sounds permanent. It is, she said softly. If we do it, I will not be the same. Neither will you. Before Ethan could reply, the ground trembled. The walls flared red as alarms echoed through the chamber. The projection's voice turned urgent. The core has reawakened. It is searching for its master. Eris looked around, panic flashing across her face. It's sensing me. Ethan stepped closer to her. Then we end it now. She met his eyes, her voice shaking. If we fail, both our hearts will stop, he nodded. Then we don't fail. They ran to the pedestal as the light grew blinding. Eris placed her hand on the sphere and Ethan covered it with his own. The energy surged through both of them, cold then burning hot. Symbols flared across the floor. Their minds filled with flashes, her memories, his memories, blending. He saw her world, her laughter as a child, her loss when her people vanished. She saw his battles, his loneliness, his buried dreams of peace. Their connection deepened and the vault responded. A massive surge of light burst upward, reaching through the ground into the sky above the canyon. At the outpost, the crew saw the beam rising like a pillar to the heavens. Inside the vault, Eris gasped. It's working. It's listening. Ethan held on tighter. Then tell it to sleep. She closed her eyes and spoke in her ancient tongue, voice trembling yet strong. The light pulsed slower, slower, until finally it faded to a steady glow. The quake stopped. The air went still. The projection appeared again, softer now. The link is complete. The weapon sleeps once more, but the price is done. Ethan looked at Eris confused. What price? Before she could answer, her knees gave out. He caught her, feeling the cold spreading through her skin. Her glow was fading. Eris. Stay with me! She smiled faintly. I gave too much. The link needs balance. You must live for both of us now. He shook his head. No, you're not leaving me now. Her hand brushed his cheek. You reached out when no one ever did. That was enough. The chamber light dimmed again, but a faint shimmer passed from her body into his. The symbols on the floor faded completely. The vault sealed itself shut with a calm sigh, as if the world finally rested. When Ethan opened his eyes again, the chamber was empty. The sphere had turned gray and Eris was gone. Only a faint silver mark glowed on his wrist where her hand had touched. He stood there for a long time, listening to the quiet hum of the vault. Then he whispered into the silence, You're not gone. Not really. Outside, the sky had cleared for the first time in centuries. 2 moons shone over the canyon, brighter than ever. Ethan stepped out into the light, feeling the soft pulse on his wrist. Steady. Alive and far above in the cold stars beyond Varan 4. Something ancient finally slept again, its last thought echoing through the wind. No one had ever reached out to her, until a human did. The wind over Varan 4 howled across the canyon as Ethan Hale stood beside the silent gate of the Heart Vault. The mark on his wrist still glowed faint silver beneath his sleeve. Faint, but alive. The sun was rising again, coloring the planet in pale gold and orange dust. It had been 3 days since Eris vanished inside the vault. The colony scientists called it the quietest miracle they had ever seen. The weapon was dormant, all energy readings flat. Yet Ethan knew it wasn't over. He could still feel her presence when the night got cold. He walked through the camp, nodding at workers who saluted him with respect. They looked at him differently now, some in awe, others in fear. Rumors spread fast. The commander who touched alien power and survived. The man who spoke to a ghost of another species. Ethan didn't care about stories. All he wanted was to understand what Eris had done, and why her voice still echoed in his dreams. Every night since the binding, he had the same vision, a field of silver light and Eris standing in the distance, smiling faintly before fading again. The first time, he thought it was just a dream, but when the mark on his wrist pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat during those dreams, he began to wonder if it was more. That morning, as he reviewed the latest reports, the colony's chief engineer, Mara Kellen, entered his office. "Commander," she said nervously, "there's something you should see." Ethan looked up. "What is it?" She hesitated. "We detected a pulse from the southern ridge, same frequency as the vault's energy. Small but growing." Ethan stood immediately. "Show me." Minutes later, he was aboard a hover scout heading toward the ridge. The sky shimmered with thin storms and lightning flashed far in the distance. The coordinates led them to a narrow valley filled with half-buried ruins, towers of glass and stone broken and ancient. In the center, faint lines of silver light glowed beneath the dust. He knelt and brushed the sand aside. The same symbols from the vault appeared, only these were incomplete, like a message trying to rebuild itself. Mara scanned the readings. "It's not dangerous, yet, but it's reacting to your biosignature." Ethan frowned. "Mine?" "Yes," she said. "When you step closer, the pulse stabilizes." He looked at the glowing pattern and took a slow step forward. Instantly, the ground shimmered and projected a faint image into the air, a hologram flickering weakly. Ethan froze. It was Eris. Her image was faint, like a ghost caught between signals. "Ethan." The voice was soft, distant, his heart jumped. "Eris, you're alive?" The projection flickered again. "Not alive, not gone. The vault keeps me." "Between." He took another step. "Can I bring you back?" Her eyes looked sad, calm. "You already did once. But the vault's core is changing. It is learning from the connection." Ethan's breath slowed. "Learning what?" She hesitated before answering. "Human emotion. Your kind's strength to protect what you love. It wants that." Mara looked alarmed. "Commander, if the vault learns human patterns, it could evolve. It might not stay dormant." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then what do we do?" Eris's image reached toward him, light trembling. "There is another chamber. A memory seed. If you find it, you can stabilize both the vault and me." "Where?" he asked quickly. "North of the crater? Beneath the storm peaks. But hurry. The network awakens again." Her form faded before he could say more. Ethan turned to Mara. "Prepare a transport and 2 soldiers. We leave in 10 minutes. The northern peaks were the most dangerous region on Varan 4. Magnetic storms tore through the skies every hour, and the terrain was unstable. No one had dared explore beyond the ridge for years. But Ethan felt something deep inside, an instinct, maybe hers, guiding him. They rode through the desert until the wind turned metallic. The air hummed and flashes of light danced over the rocks. The hovercraft lost signal near the entrance of an old structure, half buried in the sand. It looked like a temple, though built from metal that shimmered like ice. "This is it," Ethan said. They entered carefully. Inside, walls glowed faintly, showing images of galaxies and beings made of light. It felt like stepping inside a memory. At the far end, a sphere floated above a pedestal, smaller than the vault core but glowing softly. Mara examined it. The readings match what Eris described. "This could be the memory seed," Ethan approached. "Then let's stabilize it." As soon as he reached for it, the sphere pulsed and filled the room with light. He heard Eris's voice again, clearer now, almost near. "Ethan, don't touch it yet. Listen." He froze. "I'm here. This seed holds the essence of my kind, their memories, their mistakes. If you merge with it, you can control the vault. But it will change you." Ethan closed his eyes. "Aris, I already changed the moment you reached out to me." For a second, silence filled the chamber. Then her voice softened. "You never stop surprising me, human." He placed his hand on the seed. The light expanded, warm and heavy. Visions flooded his mind. Cities rebuilding themselves, skies clearing, her laughter echoing through memory. When the light faded, the seed dissolved into his palm. The mark on his wrist spread across his skin like silver fire, then disappeared. Mara stared in shock. "Commander, your vitals, everything's off the charts." "What did you do?" He stood tall, feeling the energy flowing calmly through him. "She's inside now. Not trapped, connected. Are you saying—" "Yes," Ethan said. "Eris is part of me." As they exited the temple, the storm cleared suddenly, leaving a strange calm. Ethan could hear her voice faintly in his thoughts. Gentle but sure. "The vault sleeps peacefully now. But something else is moving beyond this world." He looked toward the horizon where distant lights blinked. Ships entering orbit. "What do you mean?" "They come for what remains of my people's power," her voice said in his mind. "Other civilizations will sense it. They will not come in peace." Back at the outpost, warnings filled the comms. Unidentified vessels, 3 of them, approaching Varan 4's orbit. Ethan rushed to the control center. "Are they human?" The technician shook his head. "No identification codes. Energy readings are off the charts," Mara whispered. "They might be scavengers. Or worse." Ethan stared at the screen. "They're not here by accident." Eris's voice came again, calm and clear within his mind. "They are the collectors. They hunt remnants of ancient power. They will seek the vault." He took a deep breath. "Then they'll have to go through me." Outside, the colony began lockdown procedures. Defense drones armed themselves along the perimeter. The settlers looked to the sky nervously. Ethan moved to the balcony overlooking the horizon. For a moment, the silence of the planet returned, until 3 massive shadows broke through the clouds. The ships were dark and metallic, shaped like spears cutting through the air. Energy lines glowed along their hulls. They hovered above the canyon, facing the outpost. A deep, mechanical voice echoed across the comms. "This world is under retrieval protocol. Vacate the surface, humans." Ethan pressed the transmitter. "Negative. This planet is under human protection. You have no authority here," the voice responded coldly. "The relic belongs to the architects. You interfere, you die." Ethan smiled faintly. "Yeah, well, you'll have to earn it." Eris's voice whispered inside him. "Let me help. Together." He closed his eyes, feeling her energy flow through his veins. The silver mark reappeared on his wrist, glowing brighter than ever. Power surged in his chest, not destructive but steady, like light responding to purpose. When the first beam from the alien ship fired toward the outpost, Ethan raised his hand. A wall of shimmering blue energy erupted in front of the colony, absorbing the blast completely. The soldiers stared in disbelief. Mara whispered, "He's doing that. He's controlling the vault." Ethan's voice was calm, steady. "As long as I'm standing, they won't touch this planet." The alien ships fired again, but the energy shield held. Then Ethan looked upward. The mark on his wrist pulsed, sending a column of light toward the sky. It struck one of the ships, forcing it back into orbit. Inside his mind, Eris's presence was strong, steady, guiding him. "We are one now, Ethan. Heart and mind." He could feel her emotions, fear, strength, love, and endless hope. Together they pushed against the invading power. The second ship broke formation and withdrew. Only one remained, circling high above. Ethan's body trembled with energy. "One more," he muttered. Eris whispered softly. "You cannot fight forever." He smiled faintly. "Then we make this count." The final ship descended, engines roaring, lightning flashing across the desert. Ethan lifted both hands, summoning every fragment of power left. The light erupted again, pure, silver, and alive. It hit the ship directly, splitting the sky apart with blinding brilliance. When the dust settled, the ship was gone. The sky returned to quiet. Ethan collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. Mara ran to him. "Commander, are you all right?" He nodded weakly. "Yeah, just tired." She looked at the glowing mark fading slowly. "What now?" He looked toward the vault where faint light still shimmered. "Now we make sure no one ever uses this world's power again." In his mind, Eris's voice softened like a whisper carried by wind. "You reached out to me once, and now we reach the stars together." Ethan smiled quietly, watching the sunrise over the canyon. The war was over, for now. But he knew something larger had begun. For the first time, two souls, one human, one alien, shared a single heartbeat on a world that had once forgotten what hope felt like. And as the twin moons faded into morning light, their bond remained, fragile, eternal, and alive. The morning after the battle was calm. The red dunes of Veron 4 shimmered under soft sunlight, and the sky was finally free of smoke and storm. The outpost was half destroyed, but the people were alive. Commander Ethan Hale walked among them quietly, helping lift debris, steadying wounded men, answering every worried question with a calm nod. Inside, however, he felt hollow. The silence in his mind was louder than any explosion he had ever heard. For the first time since the fusion with the vault's power, he could not hear Aris. Her voice, which had guided him through chaos, was gone. The faint silver mark on his wrist had stopped glowing. He stopped near the canyon edge where the last alien ship had burned through the atmosphere. Only dust remained of it. The wind blew cold across his face. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Aris, are you still here?" No answer came. Only the soft hum of the vault deep beneath the planet. By noon, a council ship from the Terran Union arrived in orbit. The human government had finally noticed the disturbance on the outer colonies. When the shuttle landed, 3 officers stepped out in white armor. The leader, Admiral Solon, was tall, cold, and precise. "Commander Hale," the admiral said, saluting stiffly. "You've caused quite a stir. Reports of alien technology, unidentified power readings, and a human controlling planetary energy. Care to explain?" Ethan met his gaze calmly. "We were attacked. The vault defended itself. That's all?" The admiral studied him. "You mean you defended it? The readings show the energy came from your body." Ethan said nothing. He could feel the faint echo of Aris still hidden deep within him, like a heartbeat beneath the surface. He wasn't ready to tell anyone. "Not yet," the admiral folded his arms. "You're lucky Command wants this technology contained, not destroyed. You'll report to Earth for debriefing and medical scans." Ethan shook his head. "The vault stays sealed. No one touches it." "That's not your decision," Solon snapped. Ethan's eyes hardened. "With respect, sir, it's not yours either. You didn't see what it can do." The admiral stepped closer, voice cold. "Are you refusing orders?" Before Ethan could reply, the ground trembled faintly. The soldiers looked around nervously. A blue shimmer rose from the canyon, soft and rhythmic. It wasn't violent, only alive. The hum of the vault rolled across the desert like a heartbeat. Mara ran toward them from the control tower. "Commander, the vault's energy is stable, but it's responding to you again." Solon's eyes narrowed. Responding to him? Ethan turned toward the canyon. The air vibrated gently, and for a moment he thought he heard it. A faint whisper. "Ethan," his breath caught. She was there. He took a slow step forward, ignoring the admiral's warning shout. The wind circled him, and the blue shimmer wrapped around his boots like fog. In his mind, her voice grew stronger. "I'm still here," he smiled faintly. "You disappeared only to protect you. The link was unstable after the battle. I needed time to heal." "You scared me," he thought quietly. Her tone softened. You humans are strange. You risk everything for others, even for those not your own kind, he whispered aloud. It's what we do. The Admiral barked. Commander Hale, step back from that field. But the energy calmed instantly. The light faded to a gentle pulse and the hum settled again. Ethan turned slowly. See? It's not a threat, Solon glared. Not yet. But what happens when that thing decides it no longer needs you? Ethan looked back at the canyon. Then I'll remind it what it means to be human. The Admiral exhaled sharply and signaled his men. Prepare the ship. We're taking the commander and his team to Earth. The scientists will decide what to do next. Mara looked uneasy but said nothing. Ethan followed the soldiers, his thoughts heavy. Inside, Aris's voice whispered faintly. You cannot let them control the vault. They will use it as a weapon. He answered silently. I won't let that happen. That night, the outpost lights dimmed as the human fleet prepared departure. The engineers packed data modules and soldiers guarded every crate labeled artifact research. Ethan stood by the shuttle ramp, staring at the stars. The world he had protected was quiet now, but he knew peace never lasted long. When the engines roared to life, Aris spoke again, her voice more vivid than before. Ethan, the vault is changing. It feels your world's presence. It wants to understand them. Through me. He frowned slightly. Is that dangerous? Not if guided. But if they force it, it could awaken again, stronger than before. Ethan made his decision then. We won't go to Earth. They'll call that defiance. She warned softly. Maybe, he said, fastening his harness. But humanity was built on defiance. As the shuttle lifted off, he looked back one last time at the canyon glowing under the moonlight. The vault pulsed gently as if saying goodbye. Hours later, halfway through the journey to the orbiting command ship, Ethan turned to Mara, who sat beside him. If you had a choice, he asked, would you hand over something that could destroy entire systems just to study it? She looked at him, uncertain. No, but the Council doesn't ask what we want. He smiled slightly. Then it's time someone did. Before she could respond, he reached for the control panel and entered a series of manual overrides. The shuttle lights flickered. The pilot shouted, Commander, what are you doing? Changing the plan, Ethan said calmly. He flipped the comms off and steered the shuttle toward open space, away from the fleet. The Admiral's voice erupted through the emergency channel. Hale, stand down now. Ethan ignored it. Mara, I need your help. We're taking this ship to the far side of the moon. No trackers. She hesitated, then nodded. If Aris trusts you, so do I. Within minutes, the shuttle broke formation and vanished into the planet's shadow. The Admiral's ship searched, but Varan 4's magnetic storms jammed their sensors. Ethan and Mara disappeared into the dark side of the system. Inside the cockpit, the atmosphere was tense but calm. Aris's voice filled the silence gently. You defy your leaders even when you know the cost. Ethan smiled faintly. Guess that makes me human. It makes you something else now, she whispered. Half of what you were, half of what I am. He looked at his reflection in the dark window. For a moment he thought he saw her face behind his own, silver eyes watching through his gaze. But it wasn't frightening, it felt complete. Hours later, they landed on an abandoned satellite station orbiting one of Varan 4's smaller moons. The station was silent, covered in dust, long forgotten by any official map. Ethan powered up its old systems. Lights flickered on one by one. This will do, he said quietly. Mara glanced around. You plan to hide here? Not hide, he replied. Guard. They set up a small lab, keeping the communication lines closed to prevent tracking. Mara worked on stabilizing the vault's readings while Ethan stood at the window, staring at the blue shimmer faintly visible on the planet below. Aris's voice filled his thoughts again. You could have left, Ethan. Why stay? He smiled gently. Because someone has to make sure no one wakes it again. And if your people come for you, he looked toward the stars, then I'll reach out to them, just like I reached out to you. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The silence between them wasn't lonely, it was peaceful. A shared quiet that needed no words. Days turned into weeks. The Terran Union declared Ethan Hale missing in action. Rumors spread that the commander of Varan 4 had fused with alien technology and vanished beyond reach. Some called him a traitor. Others called him the guardian of the vault. One night, while Ethan watched the stars, he felt warmth spread through his chest. The mark on his wrist began to glow again, brighter than before. He heard her clearly this time. Ethan, he smiled softly. "You're back, I never left," she whispered. "I've been growing, learning. Your courage changed the vault's purpose. It no longer seeks destruction. It seeks balance. Then maybe there's hope after all," he said. "Hope," she echoed gently. "A word my people forgot long ago. But you brought it back." He leaned against the window, watching distant stars shimmer. "We'll protect it together," he said aloud. "Together," she repeated, her tone almost like a promise. Down on Varan 4, deep under the canyon, the vault pulsed once more, not with power, but with life. Its glow spread through ancient tunnels, awakening dormant crystals that now carried human warmth within alien design. And somewhere in that vast silence between worlds, the bond of one human and one forgotten soul became something the galaxy had never seen before, a bridge between what was lost and what could still be saved. The Terran fleet searched for years but never found them. Yet every now and then, explorers passing near Varan 4 reported seeing a blue shimmer in the dark, a faint figure walking beside a man of light. Some said it was myth, others said it was love. But those who looked closer swore they heard a soft voice carried by the cosmic wind, whispering the same words that began it all. "No one has ever reached out to me." And now, someone finally had, and never let go.